Good morning, everybody. Respected Venerable Sirs, distinguished guests, scholars, and participants. Welcome to the grand inauguration of the International Conference on Sanskrit, together organized by the Department of Languages, Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, and Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India, Colombo. On the theme of diverse discipline of Sanskrit for a better world. It is an honor to stand before you as we are about commence this grand event now. Please be honest to stand before you as we are about commence this grand new. We are We are honored to you join us in a moment of traditional significance. The lighting of the oil lamp is not just a ritual. It is a symbol of the illumination of knowledge, wisdom, and unity. I would like to cordially invite Professor Most Venerable Tambulle Sheelakanta Nayaka, Chief Guest and former Vice Chancellor of Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Professor Most Venerable Navagamui Revatha, Guest of Honor, Retired Professor, University of Kelaniya. Professor Most Venerable Varadivala Vijayeswamana Nayaka, former Vice Chancellor of Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Venerable Jambugahapitiye Dhammaloka, Senior Lecturer, Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya. Dr. Venerable Kadavathgama Pirathana Nayaka, Dean of the Faculty of Buddhist Studies, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Venerable Galwave Vimalakanthi, Dean, Faculty of Languages and Cultural Studies, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Professor Ankur Dutt, Director, Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center and High Commission of India, Colombo. Mr. V.D. Kitsiri, Registrar, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Mr. G.R. Tushan Anuruddha, Bursar, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Tissa Bandara, Librarian, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. We are cordially invited Kirama Vimalathissa Thera, Senior Lecturer, Head of the Department, Buddhist Studies. Yeah. Professor Khanangami Rahula Thera, the Director of Postgraduate Institute, Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. May the glow of this sacred flame inspire us all as we embark on this journey together. Let it illuminate our path and foster a sense of unity and prosper. Thank you all those who have joined us for this significant event. You are cordially invited to witness and partake in the administration of 5 precepts. The 5 precepts will be administered by Professor Most Venerable Varadivela Vijayasumana Nayakathera.
පන්සිල් සමාදන් වීම සඳහා තෙවරක් নমස්කාරය. බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි ဒ ුතියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි ဒ ුතියම්පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි ဒ ුතියම්පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි තතියම්පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි පාණාතිපාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි අදින්නාදාන වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
Please be seated. Thank you, Most Venerable Nayakathera. You are joyfully invited to join with the dance performance dedicated to Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, music, and art. The Saraswati Puja dance will be performed by dancing team of Walisingha Harishchandra National College, Anuradhapura.
जगन्मोहिनी मधुरभाषिणी चारु देहिनी कमलवासिनी सरस्वती देवी वन्दे सरस्वती देवी कंचनमाला कुंजित किंकिनी नूपुरजाला पाद सरोदे कटी तटाके पाद सरोदे कटी तटाके चंचल नर्तन लीला चंचल नर्तन लीला मकर पंकज रूपाकुल अंकिक कुंकुम रेखा नील मकर पंकज रूपाकुल अंकिक कुंकुम रेखा पूर्ण कुंभ मिव पीन पयोधर पूर्ण कुंभ मिव पीन पयोधर पूरितामृत धारा पूरितामृत धारा भाग्य साधन पुण्य मूर्ति धर सुरकुल वर अभिरूपा भाग्य साधन पुण्य मूर्ति धर सुरकुल वर अभिरूपा देहि देहि वरदायक हस्ते देहि देहि वरदायक हस्ते शुभ मंगल मुद्रा शुभ मंगल मुद्रा
Thanks, Walisung Harishchandra National College students and teachers for your excellent performance. Thank you very much. Now it is time to welcome you all to the International Conference on Sanskrit. I am delighted to invite Senior Lecturer Baladura Indrajyothi Thera, Head of the Department of Languages and Chair of the conference, to deliver the welcome speech. This event became a reality because of the dedication rendered by the conference chair. Once again, I am calling upon for the welcome speech.
venerable sirs, professors, senior lecturers, all academics, and also dear registrar, dear Bursa, and all other executives, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and very warm welcome to the International Conference on Sanskrit organized by the Department of Languages, Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, in collaboration with Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, affiliated with the Indian High Commission in Colombo. I think today is one of historical day to the Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, because this is the first international conference organized by a department of this university. I mean, not by university, but by a department. Today, in this international conference, our theme is diverse disciplines of Sanskrit for a better world. Our purpose is promoting Sanskrit study and to explain that different aspects of Sanskrit opens different windows of studies, and to explain that different aspects of Sanskrit illuminate different aspects of knowledge. Along with this, we want to popularize this university with academic activities. We who are constantly dedicated to those purposes at this university have specially reserved today for those aims with the approval of Vice Chancellor, Council, Senate, and Faculty Board, etc. In fact, in the beginning of this year, we proposed a program to celebrate Sanskrit Day at this university to the academic plan in this university. Eventually, we have succeeded in developing that program into an international conference. The Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka is making a great contribution to promote Sanskrit. We, the Department of Languages, offer special and general degree courses for Sanskrit. Our concern in the light of Sanskrit is not only to teach Sanskrit as a festive reflector, but as an active agent in the molding of culture, values, ethics, and personalities, etc. I should mention, in the collaboration with the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, affiliated with the Indian High Commission in Colombo, standing together with us, has enhanced the quality of this conference. I should convey my special gratitude to the most venerable Bhutavatte Saranankara Nayakatero. He gave us 100 2 TB portable hard disk to distribute to encourage researchers in the research field, especially in Sanskrit field. And also I should convey my special gratitude to most venerable Paravahara Chandaratana Thero, and also most venerable Bodhagama Chandima Nayakatero and Venerable Most Venerable Itala Vatnuvawe ඥානතිලක Nayakatero and Kurunayagoda Piyatissa Nayakatero Trust Fund, Venerable Thavalama Dhammika Nayakatero and Most Venerable Nivitigala Sumit Nayakatero, Most Venerable Tapuwane Sutadara Nayakatero, who financially contributed us to make this conference a success. The other values are immeasurable, and the monetary value of this work is 3.3 million. All these contributions was done by above mentioned Venerable Sirs, and also Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center has allocated 3 lakhs for this conference. I extend a heartiest welcome to our chief guest, Professor Most Venerable Tumulle Silakanda Nayakatero. He is the former VC who built this university in this grand scale. Another special thing is all 3 Sanskrit lectures of our department in this university are former students of his Pirivena. And we like to warmly welcome guest of honor, Professor Most Venerable Navagamui Revata Nayakatero, as the foremost academic regarding Upanishad studies in Sri Lanka. He is an all-around Sanskrit studies. He is an all-rounder of Sanskrit studies. Actually, even today, 20th of December, today, he is appreciated as the best Sanskrit teacher at University of Kelaniya, but he attends this conference as he accepted our invitation at first. And I profoundly delighted to welcome Venerable Jambugahapiti Dhammaloka Thera, the only one Sanskrit mathematician in Sri Lanka. His academic field is Indic maths, Sanskrit maths. That is the special thing. We are grateful to you for accepting our invitation to be the keynote speaker of this conference. I extend an affable welcome to you, Venerable Sir. I would like to extend a gracious and inclusive welcome former Vice Chancellor, Most Venerable Varadiwala Vijayasumana Anunayakathera, and also Deans of our university, Most Venerable Kadavathgama Piyaratana Nayakathera, and Most Venerable Galwewe Vimalakanti Thera, and also Kirama Vimalathissa Thera, the head of Department of Buddhist and Pali, Department of Buddhist and Pali. And I warmly welcome exclusive staff, including I warmly welcome executive staff, including registrar and bursar and assistant librarian. Especially I want to mention about Professor Ankuran Datta. You are doing a great service in expansion of Sanskrit studies in Sri Lanka. I warmly welcome you with the support extended to us for the success of this conference. I also mention the High Commissioner of India, Gopal Bagle, at this moment, I should mention. And also, I warmly welcome all of you, our academic staff in our university, and also other executives, and also especially the Indian scholars who came to this conference. Dr. Silpa Singh, Department of Sanskrit, BUH, Varanasi University in India. Dr. Rajesh Sarkar, Department of Sanskrit, BHU, Varanasi in India. Dr. Sivalochan Sandilya, from Department of Sanskrit, BHU, Varanasi in India. And also Dr. Abhishek Das, Department of Sanskrit, University of Calcutta. Yeah. All of you, on behalf of our department, we warmly welcome you. It's my turn to welcome all the participants and all the contributors for making this conference a great success. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you for your impressive welcome speech, Venerable Sir. Now we will move to the next item of agenda, addressed by the chief guest, Venerable Professor Tumbulle Silakanta Nayakathera. Venerable Sir, I cordially invited you to address the gathering.
Most Venerable Professor Navagamue Revata Mahathera, the guest of honor, Most Venerable Varadivila Vijayasumana Mahathera, former Vice Chancellor of this university, Deans of the faculties, heads of the departments, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would express my sincere gratitude to organization committee of this conference for inviting me as chief guest of this international conference of Sanskrit. Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages in the world. Moreover, it is possible to gain a wide range of knowledge about Hinduism, Jainism, as well as Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, especially the Mahayana Buddhism. Since at the past, Sanskrit language has been very important for the linguistic development of Sinhala, Hindi, French, and Tamil, and other some languages. Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit books, and Sanskrit verses show strength and beauty of the language. Even European scholars have appreciated the value of Sanskrit language. European philosophist, Orientalist philosophist, Friedrich Max Muller has said Sanskrit is the great languages of the world. Sanskrit is a mother tongue, but nowadays Sanskrit languages is gradually disappearing from the human society. Today is becoming a dead language, but actually it is not dead language. But recently I saw a village in certain state in India where all villagers are speaking Sanskrit. But in today we can see a global propagation of Sanskrit language. There are many scholars who study Sanskrit, especially in America and Europe. Besides, in Sri Lanka, Sanskrit plays a very important role in bhikkhu education. Sanskrit language is an important and compulsory subject. Sri Lankan European education from beginning to the end, in addition to Oriental education, Sanskrit language is also a subject which has high demand for the university education. So I express my blessings on conducting such an international conference for the study, research and development of Sanskrit language, which has such a great asset to the future education. I express my respect to all the scholars, including the lecturers, professors, and all organization committee. Also, the selection of Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka Bhikshu University as a suitable place to hold such international conference can be considered as an honor to the Sanskrit language. Also, I am proud to say that all the people who organize that lead this conference, including the scholars and head of the department, are former students who have completed their primary and secondary education from our Varyapula Sumangala Pirivan. Regarding inviting me as a guest, chief guest for such a special occasion, I would like to end my speech by offering my gratitude to the organization committee, the head of the department, and the senior lecturer, Baladura Indajyoti Theru, and other two lecturers also. I bless that you will have the strength, the courage to conduct more and more conferences like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Most Honorable Sir, for your valuable speech. Because the time is very fast, then we have to proceed the next item. Next address by the Dean, Faculty of Languages and Cultural Studies, Galway Vimalakanthi Thera. Venerable Sir, I cordially invited you.
Good morning, everybody. Most Venerable Professor Tumbulle Sri Silakanda Nayaka Thera, former Vice Chancellor of the Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka and the chief guest of this international conference. And guest of the honor, retired Professor Most Venerable Nawagamme Rewatathera, University of Caledonia, and Professor Ankuran Datta, Director, Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center and High Commission of India, and keynote speaker, Venerable Dr. Jambugahapitiya Dhammalokathera, Senior Lecturer, Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya, and Venerable Professor Varadiwela Vijay Sumanathero, former Vice Chancellor of the Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, and our Chair Professor Kanangami Rahulathero, Director of the Upadek of Sri Lanka, Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, dear Registrar Mr. V.D. Kitsiri and Tusan Anuruddha, the Bursa, and librarian of our university, Mr. Tissa Bandara, and Professor Arya Lagamua, Professor Dhamma Dinathero from Caledonia University, and Professor Chandana Rohana Vitarachya, and many more scholars, all the academics, members of the university community of Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, and all the researchers, ladies and gentlemen. It is very happy occasion me to address few words on behalf of this international conference. Actually, this conference was organized by the Department of Languages. I am very happy as the Dean of the Faculty of Languages and Cultural Studies, Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka, for their capability of forming a grand international conference regarding the Sanskrit language. As we know, as the bankrupt country of Sri Lanka now, we are facing many more economic crises which were not faced in the history before in this severe manner. So all the expenditure for the government organizations and institutions, all the expenditure were cut off, so that it is not easy to organize this kind of international conference with every facility and every offerings available. So I would like to thank to the head of the Department of Languages, Most Venerable Senior Lecturer Baladora Indrajyoti Thero, and to the academics of the same department for organizing this kind of international conference. The leadership and the capability of organizing this kind of international conference of the HOD of the Department of Languages paved the way to have this conference to the stage like this. When we consider Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka is especially designed and dedicated to give knowledge and preach doctrines of Lord Buddha to the whole world under the religious studies, cultural and language studies through this university. So I believe that it is essential to have this kind of dialogues to disseminate the knowledge that we are having and practicing through this university for the whole world. When we consider the Sanskrit language, it has a long history that goes back to the pre-Christian era in Sri Lanka. That means when the introduction of the Buddhism to Sri Lanka by the Arhat Mahamahinda Thera, and at the middle stage of the kingdom of Sri Lanka, it was developed throughout the country, and actually it was influenced to the Sri Lankan Sinhala Prakrit language as well. So the pressure afflicted in various stages through the South Indian governors or kingdoms like Pallava, Chela, Kerala, and like that. Those stages always pushed Sanskrit language to Sri Lankan language as well, and the power generated by the South Indian kingdoms always helped to develop Sanskrit language in Sri Lanka. So I think it is very important occasion to discuss and have a dialogue regarding the diverse disciplines Sanskrit language in a better world as the theme of this international conference. I think all of the researchers are ready to express and disseminate their knowledge through this conference that they have gained through Sanskrit language. As the Dean of the Faculty, finally, I would like to thank for the Head of the Department of Languages and all the academic members of the same department and the Bhikshu community of BUSL for organizing this kind of grand international Sanskrit conference, which is included in the year plan as celebrate Sanskrit Day actually, but it has transformed into a grand international conference by the academics of the Bhikshu Department of Languages. So I would like to thank for all for organizing this kind of international conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sir. Now, addressed by the guest of honor, retired Professor, Most Venerable Naugami Revathadera. Venerable Sir, I cordially invited you.
Dear Chairman Sir, Most Venerable Professor Tumulle Silakanda Nayakathera, former Vice Chancellor, BUSL and BPU, and other Nayaka priests, Dean of this Faculty of Languages, Galwave Vimalakanti Thera, Dr. Ankuran Dutt, Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Venerable Keynote Speaker, Venerable Karandagolle Sobatatissa, Senior Lecturer, introducer of the keynote address when Karandagolle Sobatatissa, and keynote address when Dr. Jambugaha Pittiya Dhamma Lokathera and other special guests. I have to thankful to Venerable Baladora Indarathanathera and the organizers of this assembly for inviting me to this scholarly conference on Sanskrit and diverse disciplines of Sanskrit for a better world. Scholars have come here to present their research papers on various disciplines of Sanskrit. It is a language full of literary work on Veda, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishads. Again, philosophers derived from these Vedic scripts, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Vedanta. These 6 systems of philosophy are to be learned
by the scholars, those who want to know a better knowledge of the world. Again, when you want to learn very essential, interesting literary works, you can find those sort of literary work in Sanskrit language. Actually, all the world take note of Kalidasa, Maga, and such other poets due to their poetical works. If one person wants to learn Uttara Bauddha Darshana or Mahayanic Buddhism, they have to learn text, read on Sanskrit. So this language paves you a way to attend your knowledge on various directions of human knowledge. Therefore, scholars should learn this subject. When we come to the subjects that we have to treat on in this occasion are mainly on Sanskrit. Sanskrit language and linguistics, Sanskrit literature, Buddhist Sanskrit and Buddhist Chinese Sanskrit, Sanskrit and Tibetan, Sanskrit and other Indian languages, philosophy and theology in Sanskrit, scientific literature in Sanskrit, digital humanities and Sanskrit, Sanskrit and Sri Lankan education, Sanskrit and South Asian culture, Sanskrit heritage of Sri Lanka. Look at these topics. These all are very important for the present time for us, because some of us don't take note of our culture and these language studies. They don't understand what this world is. There is a saying, you may have heard it, Sangita Sahitya Kala Vihina Saksat Pasu Prucha Visana Hina Trunannakadan Napi Jivamana Tadbhaga Deyam Paramang Pashunam. I would like to translate it into Sinhala because most of our students don't want to study Sanskrit. Sangita Sahitya Kala Vihina Sahitya Sangita Kala වැනි මේ විෂයන් ගැන ඉගෙන ගන්න නැති අය ඉන්නවා නම් සාක්ෂාත් පසු ඒ අය ඇස් ඉදිරිපිට ඉන්න සිව්පාව වගේ අඩු මොනවද පුච්ච විසාන හිනා වලිගයි අන් දෙකයි විතරයි නැත්තේ මිනිහෙක් වෙන්න නම් සාහිත්‍ය සංගීත ශාස්ත්‍ර දර්ශන ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕන. එතකොට තුරණන්නකාදන් අපි ජීවමාන මේ ජීවත් වෙලා ඉඳිමින් මේගොල්ලෝ තනකොළ කන්න නැති එක විතරයි. තත්භාග දෙයන් පරමං පශූනාම්. ඒ තනකොළ නොකන එක සිව්පාවුන්ගේ වාසනාවක්. කෝටි 300ක් ඉන්න මේ නැට නැති හරක් තනකොළ කණ්ඩුනා නම් හරකුන්ටත් තනකොළ ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේ ලෝකයක් අද ඇති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මට ලැබිලා තියෙන විනාඩි 10යි මං හිතන්නේ කාලේ ගන්න හොඳ නැහැ. සංස්කෘත භාෂා දෛවී භාෂිතච උච්චතේ. දිවහ ප්‍රභවතිති දෛවම්. දිවහ ප්‍රභවති කියන්නේ දිව්‍ය ලෝකෙන් හට ගන්න කියන එකයි. සා භාෂා දර්ශන සාහිත්‍ය තර්ක විද්‍යා කාම ශාස්ත්‍ර අර්ථ ශාස්ත්‍ර නීති ශාස්ත්‍ර ආදියස්ච බ්‍රහ්මාදිபிශ්ච ඍෂිபிශ්ච ප්‍රාරබ්ධා ඉති ශ්‍රූයතේ. තස්මාත් සා භාෂා දෛවී භාෂා ඉති උච්චතේ. සංස්කෘතයට දෛවී භාෂාව කියලා කියනවා. මොකද දෙවියන්ගේ භාෂාව. දිවහ ප්‍රබෝධ දිව්‍ය ලෝකෙන් හට ගන්න එකට තමයි දෛවී කියන්නේ. එතකොට මේ ශාස්ත්‍ර ඉගෙනගෙන තියෙන මුලින්ම ලෝකෙට ගෙනාවයි කියන්නේ දෙවියෝ. තයා භාෂ්‍ය ඥානෙන සාංඛ්‍ය යෝග න්‍යාය වෛශේෂික මීමාංසා වේදාන්ත ආදී දර්ශනාස්ච තර්ක අර්ථ ශාස්ත්‍ර බෞද්ධ දර්ශන කාය විචාරාදීනිච්ච බෝධුං ශක්‍යතේ. මේ සියල්ල ඉගෙන ගන්න ඔබට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ සංස්කෘත පිළිබඳව දැනුමෙන්. මොකද මේවා පිළිබඳව මූලාශ්‍රය සිංහලෙන් නැහැ. සංගීතය ගැන ඇත්තම නේ බොම පොඩ්ඩක් මෑතකදී තියෙනවා. නීතිය ගැන ඒ අර්ථ ශාස්ත්‍ර ආදී බැකේවැලි වගේ අයත් ගුරු කරගත්තා. අන්න නිසා කියවන්න ඕන සංස්කෘත. पुरातन ज्ञान विद्याशास्त्र विषये महत् प्रवणता अद्य द्रष्टुं शक्यते। अतः अस्मिन् द्वीपे छात्राः तं न गणयन्ति। एषः तेषां परममुग्धता। यदि भवतः शास्त्रलोके पारं द्रष्टुम् इच्छा भवति, अस्मिन् भाषाशास्त्रविषये अध्ययनाय प्रयतितव्यः। I don't want to talk much because I don't want to waste your valuable time. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Venerable Sir. Now this conference jointly organized with Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India, Colombo. Now I would like to invite Dr. Ankor Datta, Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Colombo, to address the gathering.
तिरुवन शरणै परम पूज्य महासंघ सुप्रभातं सर्वेभ्यः। अहमद्य भिक्षु विश्वविद्यालयेन आयोजिते संस्कृतविषये आन्तराष्ट्रीय सम्मेलने अत्र उपस्थितः इति अत्यन्तं प्रसन्नः अस्मि। अहमपि अस्य सम्मेलनस्य कृते सर्वेषां स्वागतं कर्तुम् इच्छामि। संस्कृतात् मधुरतर अन्यः भाषा नास्ति। अतः विश्वस्य अनेकानां भाषाणां मातृभाषा संस्कृतम् अस्ति। संस्कृतम् अतः देवभाषा इति प्रसिद्धम्। अस्य सम्मेलनस्य आयोजनार्थं विश्वविद्यालयस्य सर्वेभ्यः संस्कृतशिक्षकान् अभिनन्दयामि। Ayubovan, Namaskar. Very good morning to all of you. Most Venerable Mahasangha, distinguished chief guest, the former Vice Chancellor, Most Venerable Nayakathero, guest of honor, former Vice Chancellor of Bhikshu University, Dean of the Faculty of Buddhist Studies, Dean of Faculty of Languages, former Professor of Kelaniya University, invited speaker, keynote speaker, all venerable theros, and also guests from India. I, on behalf of the Government of India and High Commission of India, its cultural arm, Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, is a center of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. I would like to welcome to this international conference on Sanskrit. I would welcome all of you to this conference, and also my heartiest welcome to all the Sanskrit scholars from Banaras Hindu University, Calcutta University, and other universities of India. I'm not going to take much of your time, but this year, I would like to inform that for the first time in Colombo, we organized the World Sanskrit Day on 31st August 2023. And I was so happy to inform 10 universities of the country, Sri Lanka, participated in that World Sanskrit Day celebration in Colombo. and more than 300 participants, scholars, students participated in that program a couple of months back. I met Venerable Indrajyoti Thero, the head of the Department of the Languages there, and also he requested that he is going to organize in this very prestigious university of Sri Lanka a conference on Sanskrit. Immediately, although it is monetarily very small amount, but we wanted to be a part of this international conference, and we supported all our whatever possible support we can provide from the High Commission of India and Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center. We extended our support. I'm also very pleased to inform that very recently, only this month, in the beginning of this month, Venerable Indrajyoti Thero, he was also sent to India to attend a Knowledge India visitors program organized by the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, where nearly 89 scholars of Indic studies participated from 39 countries. So I requested Venerable Thero that please inform the Government of India, because our External Affairs Minister of the Government of India, State Minister for External Affairs, Education Minister of Government of India, Ayush Minister of Government of India, all participated in that convention. And also I requested that please inform the Government of India what kind of support you require for this particular convention. I'm so pleased also to inform that Sri Lanka has a long tradition of Sanskrit studies, as it has already mentioned by the Honorable Dean and also Honorable Professor. At this moment in Sri Lanka, there are 826 Pirivena. Pirivena is a Buddhist monastic institution, and in all Pirivena, Sanskrit is a subject, is taught. And I am so happy that there are more than 1,000 Sanskrit teachers are appointed in all these Pirivena, and as we have already received a request from the Ministry of Education of Government of Sri Lanka, we are going to provide the support for the spoken Sanskrit workshop to all 1,000 venerable monks who teach Sanskrit here in all the Pirivena. For the Indian delegates, I hope that you have lots of knowledge about Anuradhapura, and you know about this place. I always feel very nostalgic whenever I come to Anuradhapura. It is because I always just try to feel. I also would like to request all of you to please visit Mihintale and also Jayasri Mahabodhi here in Anuradhapura. These are two very important relationship, means shared cultural heritage of India and Sri Lanka. I feel always very nostalgic, very emotional. I got goosebumps even when I think the emperor of Akhanda Bharat. Just imagine during that time, Magad was starting from Gandhar, that is present-day Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, all the entire land's emperor, and his son, Arhat Mahinda, he left everything there at the world's, I think, largest kingdom during that period. He left everything and he came to Sri Lanka. When I saw that hilltop, when it is believed that Arhat Mahinda first came and he met the king. And also, during that time, he came not alone with other monks, and including his sister, Sanghamitra Theri's son also accompanied him. And after some time, as he requested, his sister Sanghamitra Theri came with the sapling of Mahabodhi, which is the longest lasting living tree with a history in the world, which is here in Anuradhapura, Jayasri Mahabodhi. I would like to request all the Indian delegates to please visit these two places, Jayasri Mahabodhi and Mihintale, to understand the shared cultural heritage that we have both the countries for thousands and thousands of years. Also, you will be happy to know that Princes Hemamala and Danta, when they brought the tooth relic to Sri Lanka, they came first to Anuradhapura, and it was here for some time, for a long time, long period. After that, it went to Polonnadua, and finally it is there in Daladamalagawa in Kendi. In the World Sanskrit Day, Venerable Professor from Kelaniya University, he told that there is a long tradition of writing in Sanskrit in Sri Lanka. As I mentioned, that Sanskrit perhaps is the most sweetest language in the world. And there are lots of, because Sinhala is also Indo-Aryan language. And that is why there are lots of words that are common, that basically originated from Sanskrit. As I always refer to, that I belong to Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, which is the Indian Cultural Center. So it is known as Sanskritika Madhyasthana in Sinhala. So Sanskritika Madhyasthana is basically from Sanskritik Kendra or Sanskritik Madhyasthana, is also originally the words are from Sanskrit. But in that World Sanskrit Day, Venerable Indrajyoti Thero, I hope that you could remember that it was mentioned that the first piece was written in Sri Lanka was Sivatandava Stutram by Ravana. And also, I really feel so emotional that when I think of writing of Janaki Haran, a Kabya that was written by the king of this land, Kumaradasa, in Sanskrit. So these are our shared heritage. I'm not going to take much of your time, but I would like to recite one stanza of Sivatandava Stutram, as it is believed that it was first written here in Sri Lanka, as the first piece of Sanskrit written in Sri Lanka. And just imagine that rhythm, and so beautifully it was composed. Whoever it composed, it believed that it is composed by Ravana, but whoever it is composed, but it is so beautifully composed that, like, Jata tavi gala jala prabaha pa vitastale gale balam balam vitang bhujangatunga malikam damad damad dama ninadamad damarbhayang sakara chandra tandavang tanut siva sivam jata kataha sambrama brahma nilimpa nirjari vilula vishvallari virajamana murdani dhagat 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 javalla lata patta pavake kichura sandra sekare ratih pratikshanam mama. There's such a beautiful rhythm with that language. And I so pleased and we feel so happy that it is believed that this is the first piece written in Sanskrit in this land, Sri Lanka. As the chief guest has mentioned, that there are lots of pieces written in Sanskrit on Buddhism, the doctrines of Lord Buddha, more particularly in Mahayana Buddhism. I would also like to request the department, sometime we can also discuss about the Sanskrit literature on Buddhism. I'm happy to inform that World Hindi Day is observed on 10th of January every year. This year, we are going to organize the World Hindi Day with a 2-day conference in Colombo, and the topic is impact of Buddhism in Hindi literature. So there are hundreds and thousands of areas where we can explore about the impact of Buddhism in Hindi literature and also, of course, in Sanskrit literature too. I would like to conclude with a slok that we all always refer to for the well-being of the mankind. It translates like this: may all sentient beings at peace, may no one suffer from illness, may all see what is auspicious, may no one suffer. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pachantu ma katsidduga bhaga bhavet. Om Santi, Santi, Santi. Thank you so much. Stuti.
Thank you very much, Director. Actually, his speech, we encourage and impress knowledge of Sanskrit and how with India, how we can develop this thing while combined with together, we can work. We are together. Thank you very much again. And now, the time for introduce the keynote speaker. I cordially invite Senior Lecturer Venerable Karandagolli Sobhita Thera, the Secretary of the Conference, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Namo Namaha, Suprabhatam. Good morning, everyone. The chief guest, Most Honorable Professor Tumulle Silakkanda Nayakathera and Most Venerable Professor Vardivila Vijayasumana Nayakathera, former Vice Chancellor of Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka. The guest of honor, retired Professor Most Venerable Navagamuwe Rewata Thera and Dr. Ankuran Datta, Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India, Deans of Faculties, all the head of departments, professors, senior lecturers and lecturers, registrar, Versa, librarian and all executive members, academic and non-academic staff members of the university, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling honored and privileged to get the opportunity to introduce the keynote speaker, a well-known scholar in scientific and technological literature in Sanskrit among the Sanskrit scholars. Let me introduce the venerable keynote speaker. For the first time, he is none other than Venerable Dr. Jambugahapitiya Dhammaloka Thera, at present working as a senior lecturer in Sanskrit at the Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya. As for his studies, he completed his BA degree with first class at the Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya in 2009. The Master of Philosophy was completed at Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya in 2015. In 2020, he completed Doctor of Philosophy at School of Mathematics and Statistics, University of Canterbury, New Zealand. Due to his prolific accomplishment, he has won several grants, fellowship and scholarship during his academic career. Research fellowship, School of Mathematics and Statistics, University of Canterbury, New Zealand in 2023. Rutherford Discovery Scholarship for Doctor of Philosophy, University of Canterbury, New Zealand in 2015. Gate Mudaliya Leji Tilakaratna Fellowship for Master of Philosophy, University of Peradeniya in 2011, to name a few. Not only that, he also has won several awards for his excellence in Sanskrit. Prize of Honorable Mention for PhD thesis 2021 DHST Dissertation Prize, Division of History of Science and Technologies, International Union of History and Philosophy of Science and Technology in 2021. Dr. Edmund Hevavitarna Memorial Prize for Sanskrit, University of Peradeniya in 2009. Not to be missed, his publication for the academic field as a scholar. He has contributed the several books and translations to the academic world. As for books, Sculptural Tradition of Sri Lanka in 2012, Folk Stories in 2012. As for the translation, Kadambari Uttarabhaga, Panchatantra, the Manjusri Basita Chitra Karma Sastra. Venerable Sir, your contribution towards the academic world is much appreciated. Venerable Dr. Jambugahapitiya Dhammaloka Thera has contributed much to academic and administrative field, serving as Warden, University of Peradeniya, a senior student council of the same university, and as a coordinator of postgraduate program attached to the Department of Classical Languages. Despite of heavy schedule, I just mentioned only a little information of his service and contribution. Now, my cordial invitation goes to Venerable Dr. Jambugahapitiya Dhammaloka Thera to deliver the keynote address of the International Conference on Sanskrit 2023, organized by the Department of Languages. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. Chief guest, Professor Most Venerable Mulle Silakkandanayaka Thera, former Vice Chancellor of the Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka. Guests of honor, retired Professor Most Venerable Namagumiya Revata Thera, University of Kelaniya. Professor Ankuran Datta, Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India in Colombo. Deans of faculties, heads of the departments, all the other academic and non-academic staff members of the Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka, all the Sanskritists and other scholars gathered here from other universities in Sri Lanka and abroad, paper presenters, all the other guests. First of all, I would like to thank Venerable Karanagalle Sobita, Senior Lecturer in Sanskrit, for his generous introduction to me. I would also like to thank the Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka, the Department of Languages, for inviting me for the keynote address. I am honored with this invitation, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate those who are actually behind this grand organizing process of this international conference, because it has been so far successful, and I am sure it will be concluded successfully in the end of the day. I'll be talking on the holistic approach in the Sanskrit, in the Sanskrit intellectual tradition, lessons from the past shaping the future. Actually, what I am going to present here is, I would say, truncated summary of my written version of the speech, which is in the conference proceedings. So I'll be talking few matters I mentioned in the written paper. I will begin with a very generic introduction to the topic and move on to the next subtopics one by one. As we all know, Sanskrit has been venerated as a sacred language. It has been venerated as the divine language and the language of the Hinduism religion, though there are some texts on Buddhism and Jainism also in Sanskrit. But it's not only venerated as the language of a religion or different religions, but also it's highly acclaimed as a means of passing the cultural heritage, whole vast body of knowledge that produce our ancestors from one generation to the next. Actually, as we know, the Vedic literature is the oldest, which is in the Sanskrit language. Then Vedic Brahmins actually produce few different branches of knowledge from time to time, which are known as Vedangas. There are 6 components of the Vedas. This is the first diversification of Sanskrit knowledge. So they had religious texts. Then because of some needs, they actually produce these 6 components of knowledge. They had 2 main purposes of producing these different branches of knowledge. The first is to study the Vedic literature systematically. The second is to perform sacrifices systematically. So they produce these 6 we all know these 6 components, which are known as Vedangas. This was the first diversification of Indic knowledge. Then actually this spread out to be many, many branches. This had taken many different odd numbers of paths to such extent that none of the knowledge, bodies of knowledge that we needed in past did not escape the very careful attention of Sanskrit scholars. So we have different bodies of knowledges, different varieties of knowledges. I think that it is that perspective which was taken into consideration by these organizers of this grand conference when, because hence we have this theme, different diverse disciplines of Sanskrit for the better world. The tracks actually this conference attempts to address is attest to the same fact. Yeah. Then actually now the color and shape of the Sanskrit studies is totally different. We know Mughals came to India, then Europeans came to India, and Sanskrit studies declined for some time. But direct or indirect results of colonialism, Sanskrit studies revived in 17th, 18th century. They had different motives. Some are ulterior motives, but there are some good results as well. And then they started studying Sanskrit, and Sanskrit was introduced to Europe, and they established different departments in the Europe, and then in the US, and it was taught in, began to taught in actually all over the world. Many scholars started many grand projects to preserve the sources of in Sanskrit and edit the text and translations, and many grand projects was initiated. But after some times, now we see the shape of Sanskrit studies and Indological studies is different. Some departments have also been closed, and funds are curtailed for Indological and Sanskrit studies. But now some departments are combined with other departments, and now actually they conduct different aspects, and the approach has been different in Indological and Sanskrit studies. I have just listed some of the works Indologists have done so far in the field of Sanskrit studies and Indological studies. It actually, I mean, in modern context, it actually began with linguistic studies. Then they found and acquired resources and preserved them. They edited Sanskrit texts with critical apparatus. Sometimes they translated them with critical editions, annotated translations, adapted translations, research on particular topics. Now we are in an era of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research, and also digital humanities and Indological studies. I have to mention that this list is neither exhaustive nor in the chronological order, because they most of these projects have been undertaken actually at the same time, not in a chronological order. However, the last two of these lists actually has been introduced recently. Nowadays, we are actually encouraged to conduct interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research. I mean, not only in the Indological studies, Sanskrit studies, but also in other fields as well, other disciplines as well. What I want to mention is that this is not completely new in Indological studies, in Sanskrit studies. This has been there in the past as well. For instance, in Abhignana Shakuntala, this is one of the best drama we all know in Sanskrit. In Abhignana Shakuntala, at one point, Kalidasa mentions that when he describe King Dushyanta, Dushyanta is like a Girichara Naga. Girichara iva Nagaha Pranasaram Bibharti. So the question is that why he used this adjective or simile, Girichara iva Naga, without just saying Dushyanta is like Naga. Naga means here elephant, you all know. He does not say Dushyanta is like an elephant. He says Dushyanta is like mountain ranging elephant. So why did he use this simile here, this term Girichara Naga? Is this mere epithet? So to find an answer to this, I think we should look at the Indian elephant law, because Indians developed very advanced Shastra, which is called Gaja Shastra. One of the best texts in Gaja Shastra is Matanga Leela, written by Neelakanta, probably from Kerala. In in the Matanga Leela, Neelakanta says there are three types of elephants. One is Dharanidharachara, the other one is Sindhuchari, the other one is Ubhayachara. Dharanidhara is, we know, mountain. Giri is also mountain. So Dharanidhara is a synonym of Girichara. So he says Dharanidhara is a type of elephant who actually live on mountains. Then when he explains this Girichara Naga, he says this type of elephant is very strong, very efficient, withstanding warrior-like elephant. So that's why Kalidasa deliberately, with a purpose, uses that Dushyanta is like a Girichara Naga. So when we understand this contextual meaning of Dharanidharachara, Girichara, Naga, we see a kind of king, not just majestically wandering here and there, but he's very strong, warrior-like king. So that's what Kalidasa wanted to actually emphasize. That's why he purposefully uses that Girichara Naga. So we see this bringing the knowledge from different disciplines and take them into one, amalgamating them and uses in one text, even in the past in Sanskrit studies. So this interdisciplinarity has been there for some time in the past as well. We can also see some examples from other genres as well. Indians knew, Sanskrit scholars knew, if somebody knows different disciplines, he would better understand other disciplines as well. And his creativity also will be very high and advanced. In Mammata, a renowned rhetorician in the 11th century, he wrote a grand rhetoric text, Alankara Shastra, which is known as Kavya Prakasha. There, when he talks about root causes of poetry, he says any poet should have these three Shakti, which is known as Pratibha, then Vyutpatti and Satatabhyasa, the polymathy and also practice, training. While he defining this Vyutpatti, the second category, while he was defining this, he says, the poet has to have a knowledge of different genres like prosody, grammar, lexicon, arts, literature on 4 objectives of human life, Artha Dharma Kama Moksha, like Niti Shastra, Artha Shastra and so on, and also Kama Shastra. Then the literature where the characteristics of elephants, horses and sows, etc. are given, he should know other kavyas and also itihasas, etc. So to be a great poet, to develop his creativity and composing skills, he should know these different sort of knowledge as well. And we will take another example from Indian astronomy. So we know astronomy is a kind of technical literature. So what we usually think is that to be a mathematician or astronomy, we don't need to know poetry, prosody, or whatever these literary genres. But this great astronomer, who is a court astronomer of King Shah Jahan in the 16th century, he wrote a grand text on astronomy, which is known as Sarvasiddhanta Raja. In the second chapter, which is Goladhyaya, he says, to be an astronomer, to be a great astronomer, he should know arithmetic, indeterminate equations, which is known as Kuttaka, indeterminate equations of first degree, and algebra, and also theories of spheres. So it is not surprise. So if somebody wants to be an astronomer, he should know these things. But then he says, he should also know auxiliary branches of Vedas, which are Vedangas. Then he should be skillful in other subjects like poetics, aesthetics, Shilpa, and also Nyaya Shastra. The last line is also very important. He says, if indeed it is not thus, somehow he, the non-verse person, may bring out only the express sense, abhidha of the words, and nothing else. So even to be a great astronomer, he should know these different genres, because they knew if somebody knows these different genres, if he is well versed with in these different genres, then he would understand the text being read. And the other thing I want to mention is that usually people think that Sanskrit studies, Pali studies are non-innovative, they are orthodox, very conservative. These not only general people, sometimes academics too tend to think that Sanskrit scholarship and Pali scholarship non-innovative, orthodox. But actually, when we look at the ancient Sanskrit texts, we can see they actually pursue knowledge with rational thinking, innovative ideas. They explored for evidence and then came up with conclusions. That's what they did. We can see lots of arguments, debates in ancient Sanskrit texts, not only in philosophy, Alankara Shastra, the other genres, but also in scientific literature as well. We see these debates and arguments, very heated debates and arguments in Sanskrit texts. And they had a research aspect. What we actually call today research methodology has been there in Sanskrit scholarship as well. Even before this modern research methodology came into being and has become mainstream. This is one example for that. I have mentioned actually a few examples in my written paper. This is one example from the commentary on Mahabharata, Bharata Bhavadeepa. The commentator mentions, I am not just following the tradition and I am not just commenting on the words on a copy of a Mahabharata. What I am doing is, having collected several manuscripts from Mahabharata from different regions, not even from one region, from different regions, and deciding upon the best reading. And also following the text of my teachers, the commentary Bharata Bhavadeepa is commenced by me. So he is not just following one copy he inherited from his tradition or his teacher. He collected different copies of the Mahabharata from different regions. Then he actually, what we call today, collated them to establish the best possible original of the Mahabharata. Then he commented on that established text. So what we today actually discuss in textual criticism and critical edition was practiced by them even in the past. And there are also many heated debates. Sometimes they actually engage, they go against with the ideas and arguments posed by other traditions. And also at times they argued with the ones from the same tradition. They actually pursue knowledge with innovative ideas. They invented new concepts and theories, rejected outdated ideas, also negated irrational teachings and misnomers. I have mentioned just one example. There are many examples in Indian astronomy. The Lal, who is a great astronomer in the 8th century, he wrote a text called Shishadhi Vruddhida Tantra. Then Sripati, 12th century astronomer, he wrote a text, Siddhanta Shekara, and 12th century astronomer Bhaskaracharya wrote a text called Siddhanta Shiromani. All these texts have separate chapter called Mithya Jnana Nirakarana, negating false, irrational views. So actually what they did in those chapters is that they went against the Smruti and Puranic tradition. Even though Puranic tradition was highly acclaimed, respected, venerated, whenever they see the views in the Puranic traditions are not rational, illogical, they actually went against them. They said, for instance, at one point Purana says the earth is flat and it's like a back of the tortoise, it's like a tortoise, it is supported by something and it also supported by something. These ideas was negated, they rejected, they said no, earth is spherical. And it's in the middle of the spherical center and so on. So this research aspect actually was there in Sanskrit scholarship for a long time. And then we know any subject and the pedagogy of any subject has been actually updated with the innovation of modern technology. So Sanskrit scholarship is not an exception. For instance, Sanskrit informatics has become very popular now, and we see Sanskrit songs, cartoons, videos, even video games are surfacing on the internet very rapidly, and some dramas, films, and these new innovative creations are also there. And what most of these creators do is that they use simple Sanskrit for these songs, cartoons, and so on. And there are some online and offline tools. They actually use Sanskrit as a programming language to produce these different online tools for word formation, from word formation to sentence analysis as well. Another very innovative field is that computational linguistics, where Sanskrit is used as a natural language as a program language, natural language in the natural language process. And this is one project which is actually conducted by Department of Sanskrit Studies of the University of Hyderabad with pioneering works of Professor Amba Kulkarni. And another one, this is I think all of us know, Gretel project conducted by the Göttingen University. And when it comes to the modern trends of Sanskrit scholarships, one fascinating trend is that this mythological fictions, Indian mythological fictions, actually these are novels. What these novelists do is that they extract the story from ancient texts like Puranas, Mahabharata, or Ramayana. Then they extract this story from the ancient text and they establish the story in the modern context. So when the reader read these novels, they can easily engage with the narrative, because all these stories are told in the modern context. And most of these novels are actually influenced by modern literary theories and scientific theories like feminism, magical realism, rationalism, subalternity, gender equality. These sort of new literary theories are amalgamated in these novels. These are some of the examples. Actually, Roshani Chokshi wrote a series of novels, which is known as Pandava series, and this novel is influenced by actually magical realism. And Kevin Mitchell wrote another novel, Durga, and Chitra Banerjee, The Place by Kavita Khane. These all novels are actually influenced by feminism, and there are many other different aspects as well. And when it comes to the Sanskrit scholarship in Sri Lanka, actually, former speakers actually mentioned most of, they actually discussed this, so I am not going to discuss the history of Sanskrit scholarship in Sri Lanka. But the genuine question we should ask is that why we should still teach and learn Sanskrit in Sri Lanka? What is the role of it in today's education system and in a broad sense, today's society? Our Sanskrit curricula corresponding to the modern trends in the field and so on. These are very genuine questions that we should ask and we should find answers ourselves. It is well known that Sanskrit plays a very important role in Mahayana Buddhist studies and also Hindu studies. And if somebody wants to do any in-depth research, in-depth studies of Mahayana Buddhism, he should know actually Sanskrit. He should be able to read Sanskrit and understand Sanskrit. I mean, for general reading, that's fine. We can read translations. But if somebody wants to do serious research, serious studies, he should be able to read Sanskrit and understand in Sanskrit. And if somebody conduct Pali studies, Sanskrit knowledge might be an extra. I mean, is an extra advantage if somebody can read and understand Sanskrit. I would say for a broad understanding of Buddhism and overall understanding of Buddhism and its culture, its philosophy, Sanskrit is essential. And because these all sort of knowledge, different disciplines are part and parcel of what is called Indian knowledge system. It could be prosody, it could be scientific literature, it could be philosophy, it could be religion, whatever. These are all part and parcel of Indian knowledge system. So if somebody wants to study, read, understand, do research related to Indian knowledge system, South Asian studies, he should be actually read Sanskrit. Even if he do other subjects, he would have an extra advantage if he is able to read Sanskrit and understand Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is a tool language for archaeology, Ayurveda, Jyotisha, art and architecture, history, comparative and historical linguistics, history of scientific evolution of science and so on. One of the best example is that Professor Senarath Paranavitana, actually he could do what he did because of his language skills. He was well versed in Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, to some extent Tamil, apart from English. Sinhala was his native language, mother tongue. And I think to promote Sanskrit, we should explore for innovative ways and means to promote Sanskrit. Some of our institutions have already introduced new courses like astrology, Ayurveda, Ayurvedic counseling, Vastu Shastra, and so on. But I think what is important is that not just teaching ancient texts, but we should first understand what we call line of thought of them, line of thought behind the ancient text. So, for instance, it is not matter if we follow the same proportions given in the Vastu Shastra or not. It's not the matter. We should first understand rationale behind the recommendations. They sometimes say you should use this proportion and that proportion, this techniques and that techniques. We should understand why they recommended this proportions, what are the rationale behind them, and they can actually appropriate them to the modern society, modern needs. I think that's what important, not just to follow the recommendation to the letter. Um, the other thing is reading original texts are very important, and also translations are also important, but it is not justifiable if a researcher whose discipline is Sanskrit reads Sanskrit only for his research. Yeah, we need some translations, but whenever we read some translations, as Sanskrit scholars research, we should actually double check translation with the original text. This is very important. These are actually some of the points I am just, throwing. They are dealt with in detail in my written paper. The other thing, we should actually think of whether we can, how we can apply the theories that we learn from ancient Sanskrit text to the modern context. For instance, we actually read and study many literary theories. It could be Rasavada, Alankaravada, Auchityavada, whatever. Whether we can apply them to modern creative works like poems, novels, dramas. To do that, we should be able to understand the limitations of these theories, where they are valid and where they are not valid. Then we can actually modify them, and we should be able to actually modernize them to some extent. Modernization is a word that some of us are afraid of, but modernization itself is not a bad concept. I think the way we do it has might have negative or positive results. So I think we should be able to modernize to some extent to fill the modern needs. And another thing we can do for promoting Sanskrit studies is to reach unpopular areas of studies. We should be able to promote those unpopular areas as well. As my concluding remarks, I would like to mention that I have used in this Indian throughout my speech, but it doesn't necessarily mean, as Professor Ankuran Datta very correctly mentioned in his speech, the current geographical area of India. In Indian knowledge system, the term Indian means this, because it is Indian, because India was the center in the area where this whole body of knowledge was emerged and developed. Most of the scholars who contributed to the knowledge system were Indians, so it's necessarily Indian. But it doesn't undermine the contribution of the scholars of other lands. That's how this term Indology was also coined. So I think, yeah, in that sense, it is Indian knowledge system. And it is as my final word, I would like to mention that it is very important to connect whatever we did in Sri Lanka. I mean, it is very important to read Sri Lankan Sanskrit texts. The text written in Sri Lanka by Sri Lankans, it's very important to read them, study them, and conduct research on them. But we should be able to connect whatever we do in Sri Lanka to the world's ongoing Sanskrit studies because of the vastness of this body of knowledge, diversity of this body of knowledge, and modern tendencies, modern trends of this Indological studies. We should be able to connect our studies to the modern ongoing Indological studies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sir. You enlightened us in different aspects of Sanskrit studies. Now, one event certificate award in events for the chief guest and guest of honors and keynote speaker. I invited to head of the department to commence the event. First, for chief guest, Professor Most Venerable Tumpulle Silakkanda Thera. Guest of honor, Most Venerable Professor Navagamu Revathate. For keynote speaker, Dr. Venerable Jambugahapiti Dhammalokathera. One more present given event to the head of the department by assistant professors from Banaras Hindu University, Dr. Shilpa Singh, Dr. Rajesh Sarkar, Dr. Thakur Sivolochana Sandilya. I invite. Thank you very much. Now we are coming to the end of the inauguration ceremony. This is the time for vote of thanks. I would like to invite Senior Lecturer Venerable Karandagulle Sobhitathera, our Secretary of the conference, to make a vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. The chief guests, most venerable sirs, the guest of honors, dean of faculties, all the head of departments, professors, senior lecturers and lecturers, registrar, bursa, librarian and all the executive members, presenters, academic and non-academic staff members of the university, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling honored and privileged to the opportunity to conclude the International Conference on Sanskrit 2023. This is the very useful day. We will be able to get all opportunities to make aware ourselves with Sanskrit for better world. But organizing an international conference is challenging task. This cannot be possible without great preparation, wise work in hand, support of the every corner of and blessing. Now it is the time to convey our gratitude to all who have extended their support to make this event successfully. At the outset, of behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Most Venerable Senior Professor Kanathegowda Saddharatna Anunayaka Thera, Vice Chancellor of Bhikshu University of Sri Lanka, for his blessing and motivation. On behalf of the Department of Language, I convey my gratitude and hearty thanks to our chief guest, Most Venerable Retired Professor Tumpulle Silakkanda Nayaka Thera, and Most Venerable Chair Professor Vardivela Vijayasumana Nayaka Thera, former Vice Chancellors of our universities. I also to extend my gratitude to the guest of honor, Retired Professor Most Venerable Navagamuwe Revatha Nayaka Thera, and Dr. Ankuran Datta, Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, High Commission of India, Colombo. I would highly be appreciative of the leadership encouragement and extensive support provided by the conference chair, Senior Lecturer Venerable Baladora Indradoji, Head Department of the Languages. And also, I highly appreciate the great support of Venerable Dr. Kaluane Kumarakassapa, the Chief Organizer of Conference, to success the event. On behalf of the Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka and Organizing Committee of International Conference on Sanskrit, I convey my regards and hearty thanks to our keynote speaker, Venerable Dr. Jambugahapitiya Dhammaloka Thera, Senior Lecturer in Sanskrit at Department of Classical Languages, University of Peradeniya, to share in the valuable knowledge and experience with us. I take this opportunity to thank reviewers for rendering their reliable comments, valuable comments in time and help to improve the quality of papers present. I also thank Most Honorable Bhutavatte Sarnankara Nayakathera to donating hundreds of portable hard disks for the research presenters. I also pay my gratitude to Gopal Bagle, Indian High Commissioner, and Dr. Ankuran Datta, Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, for donating 3 lakhs to success our conference. Thank you for your generous contribution, Venerable Paravahara Chandaratana, Thera Sanganayak of the France, Venerable Bodhagama Chandima Thera, Director of Nagananda International Buddhist Institute, Venerable Italavetnuave Jnanatilaka Thera, Chancellor of University of Rajarata, Venerable Kurunayagada Piyatissa Thera, Director of Piyatissa Foundation, and Venerable Tavalama Dhammika Thera, and also Venerable Tapowane Sutadaras, and also Venerable Nivitigal Sumitta Theras. Venerable sirs, without your immense contribution, the conference would not have been a success. I also like to extend my gratitude to the principal, Mr. Suranga music teacher, Mrs. Geetanjali dancing teacher, and students of the Walising Harishchandra National Schools in Anuradhapura. Also, I express my gratitude to the officers of the Saliyapura Army Camp for their support. Moreover, I am thankful to Venerable Ulpataga Amitarathana Thera, subwarden of the Bhiksu University for creating a beautiful oil lamp, and all the students' unions who created the panel. I would also like to thank the registrar, Mr. V.D. Kitsiri, the Versa, Mr. J.R. Tushan Anuruddha, and other executive members of the Bhiksu University of Sri Lanka. Dear sir, your administration supports help us to make this event a success. I am also thankful to the administration in general for rendering us with all possible logistic support towards organizing these events, and all the session chairs and research scholars for their enthusiastic participation. I would also like to thank all the technicians who assisted in making this event live. Finally, I would like to perform my gratitude to all the faculties who have greatly helped us in organizing this International Conference on Sanskrit 2023. Thank you. Sivaste Pantana Santu.
Another announcement for all. Actually, the time now 10:40. We have to start first session here, and ground floor, first floor and second floor. Now you can proceed to the place I think everything informed through via email. Then you can proceed to that. Others can go to the take tea break. Go to the Dhanasala in the same place we had.